Well, it's been a while, but I have had some different thoughts on my mind the last few weeks and months, and I thought I would do at least a few more videos. We'll see if I feel inspired to do more in the future. But I just wanted to do a follow-up on the video I made about becoming a nurse. I had done a previous video about how I got into nursing and how my ADHD symptoms made me feel really inadequate and like I was not capable of doing it, but I just had faith, faith in God, faith in myself, and through a lot of tutoring, studying, hard work, and just perseverance and not giving up, I was able to get my nursing license. Well, when I did that video, I had actually not been working for a couple years. So our family lived overseas, and my husband was in the State Department for about 5 years. And so for about 5 years, I wasn't able to work as a nurse just because it's really hard to get a job in the embassies. And so being out of work for almost 5 years, all those feelings of inadequacy and feeling like I had forgotten a lot of my skills and that I wouldn't be able to remember a lot of the things I learned in nursing school came back. And I was seriously wondering if I should continue to be a nurse, if I should try to even keep my license up. And our next assignment was going to be to Guatemala, and I researched our post in Guatemala and I researched the embassy there to see if I could get a job, and I found out that there was not very many positions available and they were pretty full already, so the likelihood of me getting a nursing job there was low. And I was at the point in my licensure where if I didn't get a job within the next few months, I would lose my license and I'd have to take a refresher course to get it back. At that same time, we also, my husband got a job offer back in the States, and so we had to make the decision if we were going to go to Guatemala or to the States. For a lot of different reasons, we felt like it was right to come back to the States, and so that's what we did. And then I had the opportunity to now get a job as a nurse. So then I had to decide, where I was going to enter into nursing again. So I've had a lot of experience in nursing. I've worked in labor and delivery, I've worked in med surg, I've worked in same-day surgery, home health, things like that. So then I had to figure out, where I wanted to go now after have not working for almost 5 years. And can I just say how intimidating it felt to get back into the workforce, having that big of a break. It is so intimidating. And I know I'm not alone in these feelings. I know a lot of women especially, because a lot of times we take off work to take care of our kids, to be at home with them when they're young. And coming back into the workforce can feel so daunting, so intimidating. But I did feel a pull towards something a little bit different in the nursing field. I kind of have felt a pull towards mental health, and so I applied for a mental health facility where I would work for an inpatient mental health unit. If you were to ask me 10 years ago if I would ever work in mental health, I would say absolutely not. When I first went through nursing school, I did a rotation in a mental health unit, and it was hard. I did not like it. I thought it was a little traumatizing. I kind of swore that I would never do that again. But for some reason, God has kind of put it in my heart to go towards mental health. And so I did apply to this inpatient psych unit, and they went ahead and gave me the job. So I started that. If I could just tell you the many hours I spent worrying, would I remember the medications? Do I remember how to give intramuscular injections? Do I remember how to go through all the medication checks properly? All these things I worried so much about. If I would have listened to all those worries, I could have definitely talked myself out of even applying for a job. I could definitely have talked myself into just letting my license expire and not even going back to work and just kind of letting it go. I know that there are people in that position right now who have had a break from being a nurse or having a break from their job, whatever it may be. And if you have ADHD on top of that, there's just so many worries and insecurities you already have from ADHD. You know you're forgetful, you know that you can not be the most organized at times, and you know that you have flaws that can hurt you in your job. And so that fear of not being able to do your job well is really real. And if someone is listening who is in that position, I just want you to believe in yourself. You are capable of things that may seem really scary to you right now. For me, the way I prepared for my job is I went onto YouTube. I just watched review educational videos on nursing and just went back through some of the basics and went through medications. There's tons of YouTube videos on all sorts of subjects for probably any field that you can imagine, where people review parts of your job that you may need to be reminded of again. So I did that. I brushed up on some of my skills, and I just kind of had to take a leap of faith and go for it. It was funny, the first day that I worked at my new job in this inpatient psychiatric unit, another person who I had trained with quit the first day because they were so intimidated by the environment there. So it was definitely a job that was intimidating in a lot of different ways and for a lot of different reasons. And a few months after working, I even considered, is this right for me? Do I want to continue in this field? But I have now worked at this place for a year and 5 months. I am loving learning about mental health. I'm really, really enjoying it. Some days are definitely harder than others, but especially just having the background of having ADHD myself, having some experience with mental health in my own life and in my family's life, it's definitely cool to be able to relate with patients and hopefully be able to have a little more empathy. Another really cool thing about this job is I've had the opportunity to do blood draws at this job. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to keep up on my nursing skills because mental health is more just medication passing, not a lot of the nursing skills that you would do in a hospital setting. But they did need someone to do blood draws, and I've been able to keep up that skill. And again, I was so intimidated, so afraid that I wouldn't remember how to do it, but I was able to pick it back up and regain that skill again, and it felt so good. And I just have to say, I am so grateful that I didn't listen to my fears. Once again, this is a common theme in my life, and I think it's a common theme for a lot of people with ADHD, is that sometimes we can let fears and doubts, like tons of doubtful thoughts, stop us from doing things that we want to do or that we wish we could do. I hope that if you're someone who might be experiencing that right now, who is watching this, to just have courage in yourself, believe in yourself. Don't do it alone. Get help. Use the resources that we have in our day and age. YouTube, there are apps that can help us learn things. One thing for me in my job is I have to remember a lot of different medications. And if I don't remember a certain medication, I just whip out my phone and look it up. You have the ability to use resources. You don't have to remember every little thing. Any job that we do, if we have a question, don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm someone who will not go forward with something without knowing for sure how to do something. And for my coworkers, that means I ask a lot of questions. I would rather be someone who asks a lot of questions and maybe be seen as, oh wow, they really have a lot of questions, than someone who just goes forward and does something without knowing and it end up being an unsafe situation. And another thing is just being open to feedback, being open to constructive criticism if there are ways that I can improve. When I was having my doubts and wondering, like, should I even be a nurse anymore? Should I just let my nursing license expire? I don't know if I can do this anymore. My husband continually encouraged me and told me, yes, you do know how to do this. You are a good nurse. Remember, you've always gotten good reviews at work. We're surrounded by people who love us and who know us really well and who know that we struggle with doubts. Maybe it's our spouse or a parent or a sibling or a friend. I think it's good to lean on their encouragement and to listen to them and to trust them too. Like, allow them to encourage us, because for me, having my husband's support and encouragement really, really helped me a lot too. And it's crazy to me now that I would even consider allowing my nursing license to expire after all this work I put into it. But I know that it's a common theme with people with ADHD. Sticking with things long term can be a challenge because the pattern of our lives is to go down a path and switch gears and do something else. And it's hard to stick with one thing for a long term. It's easy to get distracted and want to jump to different things. I know that was true with my dad. He had so many different jobs, different careers. He was a teacher, he was a police officer, he owned his own business, and even in those careers, he wasn't able to stay in the same teaching job for too long. We would move, very frequently. I think my oldest sister moved about 30 times in her childhood because my dad would just jump and go to something else. It was hard for him to stick with something. And that was really, really hard on our family, That was an extreme example, but I think it's easy for anyone with ADHD to
always want to switch to something different. So sometimes I think we have to realize that what we have is good and we can stick with something, be grateful for it, and just work with what we have, and we don't need to jump to different things, but just stay the course.
So anyways, I hope this has been helpful for anyone who might be wanting to go back into the workforce, but for whatever reason they feel intimidated or feel like they aren't capable. I'm cheering you on and telling you that you should go for it. Probably like 15 years ago, I had an experience in my life where I decided, you know what, I am not gonna let fear stop me from doing the things I want to do. I am so sick of letting fear be the reason that stops me from doing things that maybe I really feel like I need to do, I want to do. The more experiences I've had in life, I've seen that the best opportunities, the best things for us in life are the scariest, are the most intimidating, are the ones that stretch us the most. I've also learned that hard is good. Stretching is good, growth is good. It's very uncomfortable, but it's what's gonna give us the best experiences and the ones that I feel like we'll be most proud of. Anyway, I'm really grateful that I'm working back as a nurse again. Self-esteem is a big thing that people with ADHD struggle with, and being able to work at a job and stick with it really helps boost that self-esteem. And if you're someone who hasn't found what you love to do yet, maybe you don't know what kind of job you wanna have, I just encourage you to not give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your aspirations. Research, ask questions, find out what you really love to do, what you're capable of doing, and believe that you are capable of more than you might think. You can do hard things. I believe in you. And as always, you know, for me personally, involving God, praying, asking for His help, asking for Him to help me with confidence, asking others to pray for me has always been really, really helpful. And I really believe that He cares about those kind of decisions we make, and He will help us. Anyways, I hope this has been helpful to someone, and thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.